All right, so this is Pastor Chiefo once again, and I do want to say a big thank you once again to the CBIN team for the great and amazing work God has birthed you to do in the planet at such a time as this. Last time we were talking about the contagion, and I want to apologize that I had to, on account of time, stop you right on the track before delivering the essence of the message. And I want to continue today on that track to show you how, via the contagious effect, you can begin to shape the culture and influence the values of the community you find yourself on behalf of the person that you represent. I think that's the underlying concept behind the setting up of embassies by countries. An embassy is set up to be an embodiment and to exhibit the cultures of the home nation or the host nation that is represented in a foreign land. So via that embassy, a country can teach other countries and other nationalities their languages, their cultures, their habits, their lifestyles, their food and all of that. So I could actually sit down in a city like Lagos, Nigeria, and learn about the British, the French, the Americans, the Spanish, the Chinese, the Germans, without ever having visited their home country. So that the day I eventually visit those nations for the first time, I'll find it easy to adapt, to assimilate their culture, to adjust to their way of life, simply because their embassy in my home country had invaded my consciousness by their culture. So that's pretty much how it works. But the essence of our conversation today is because there are two people who are interested in engaging your services to become the vendors of their values. One is Satan. He does want to use, he wants to hire you, he wants to be his staff, his employee, his ambassador in the neighborhood where you live, in the family that you belong to, in the country that you come from, or in the institution where you work. He does want to hire you. He does want to pay you very well for that service. But likewise, the God of the heavens and the earth. And I want to encourage you to choose you this day whose agent you're going to become. But if you do want to become an agent of God, if you want to be a representative of the Godhead, I'll tell you exactly how to be so. Now, so how does God exhibit his values through you? There are two touch points in your life that are vessels and channels through which God begins to exhibit his culture. And one of them is the touch of your hands, and the other is the word of your mouth. And I want to read for you a passage in the Holy Scriptures. It says in the book of Matthew chapter 9 verse 29, it says, and a certain man who was leprous. And of course, back in those days, even right now, leprosy is a contagious disease. And back in those days, lepers, because of the contagious nature of their disease, were assigned to camps, and they were not in touch with people. And whenever a leper had to get into the camp, he had to wear bells on his knees that announced a leper is coming. And whenever people heard that noise, they distance themselves, move to that side of the road so that they don't get in physical contact with the leper. Now, this leper had come into the place, a crusade ground where Jesus was preaching. And then he came to Jesus. It was easy for him to come to Jesus because having a contagious disease, when people saw a leper was on the ground, they gave way for him. So he came before the master and he knelt down before him and he said, Lord, if you will, you can make me whole. And this was a very touching request because he has seen Jesus healing the sick, open the eyes of the blind, the deaf, and all of that. But in his own case, he felt undeserving of the same miracle because his disease was contagious. He was abominable in society. He wasn't even sure if he was entitled to be healed by the master. So he said to him, Lord, if you will, have mercy on me And Jesus was broken by that request. And he came to him and he did two things. And we see in the book of Matthew 9 verse 29 what Jesus did. The Bible says he stretched his hand and touched him. And he said, be cleansed. Oh, I am willing, be cleansed. So two transmitters of the presence of God in his life were the touch of his hands and the word of his mouth. And that is how God engages men. When he subscribed to God's payroll and God's service, it begins to affect the lives of people through your touch. And I've seen in my own personal experience, my hands come on people and they get healed of disease. My hands come and they feel the warmth of God. People who feel unloved, who feel unrecognized in society, a touch of God, just a touch of my hands, and I feel like God touched them. It happens to me every day. And then the word of my mouth has brought peace and clarity and direction to several people. And that's likewise you. God also wants to engage your services and through you begin to exhibit his cultures and values and begin to touch the lives of people. But my time is up once again, and I want to assure you by the time we come back again together, I'm going to be telling you how to wrap all these things up and get in heaven's payroll system. God bless you. Keep living by God's design until we get to see you again. My name is Pastor Chiefo.